Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is okay. In this episode, I want to ask a question that sounds simple, but it is actually very complex. What is Black identity? This question matters deeply, especially when we talk about children's literature in the United States. And before I go any further, I want to situate myself clearly and honestly. I'm an academician in Turkey, and my field is African American children's literature. I'm not speaking from within a Black experience, but I am speaking with deep respect, a long-term engagement, and sustained scholarly and personal relationships with Black studies. I believe where we speak from matters. So let me begin there. My interest in Black studies and especially in African American children's literature is not accidental. Children's books are often treated as simple or innocent, but in reality, they are powerful cultural tools. They shape how children understand themselves, their bodies, their histories, and their features, right? And when we ask what is Black identity, we are not asking for a single definition. We are asking about history, power, memory, resistance, and care. Black identity is not fixed. It is not one story, and it is never neutral. One of the most important things to understand is there is no single Black identity. Black identity is shaped by history and geography, slavery and its afterlives, language, culture, family and community, joy, creativity and survival, racism, resistance, and imagination. So, in children's literature, this becomes especially visible. Black identity is narrated through everyday moments: hair, skin, names, friendships, loss, hope, and belonging. These books do not simply say, be proud of who you are. They ask deeper questions. Who gets to be seen? Who gets to be protected? Who gets to feel safe as a child? So, why children's literature? Because childhood is where identity is first negotiated. For Black children in the United States, identity formation often happens in a world that already racializes them. Children's books can either reinforce harm or actively resist it. African American children's literature has historically been a space of counter narrative. It challenges stereotypes, it affirms Black childhood as worthy and complex. It insists on Black joy, tenderness, and imagination. This is why children's books in the United States are often seen as political. Not because they promote ideology, but because they refuse erasure. During my doctoral research, I spent 6 months as a visiting scholar at New York University. That period was transformative for me because I wasn't only reading texts or writing chapters, I was listening. I met and worked alongside many Black scholars. Many of them are still very close friends of mine. And today, these relationships shaped my thinking far beyond theory. What I learned most clearly during that time is this: Black identity is not something you define, it is something you listen to, witness, and approach with humility. And there is one moment from that period that I want to share with you because it still stays with me. I had the opportunity to meet Jacqueline Woodson, whose work I had been studying for years. We met in Brooklyn and we had breakfast together. What struck me most was not just her brilliance as writer, but her warmth as a person. She was incredibly welcoming, me, and she asked about my research. She listened carefully. She engaged seriously with my ideas and encouraged my work. We talked for a long time, not only about literature, but about children, memory, responsibility, and what it means to write with care. That moment reminded me Black identity, especially in children's literature, is not something distant or abstract. It is lived. It is shared and it is protected through storytelling. For me, that conversation was a quite bit powerful confirmation of why this field matters. So, what is Black identity? It is not a checklist. It is not a category to be mastered. Black identity is a process. It is shaped through storytelling, intergenerational memory, cultural transmission, and acts of everyday resistance. In children's literature, Black identity is often presented not as something to overcome, but as something to inhabit with confidence. Hair, for example, becomes more than hair. Language becomes more than speech. Home becomes more than a place, right? These are sites of meaning. Today, I discussions about Black identity, especially in children's picture books, children's books, are often met with resistance. Books are banned, stories are challenged, authors are questioned. And this tells us something important. These stories matter because they shape how society imagines Black childhood. To ask what is Black identity is also to ask who is allowed to be a child, who is allowed complexity, who is allowed joy. As a scholar based outside the United States, I take these responsibilities seriously because I do not speak for Black communities, but I do speak against silence, against erasure, and against simplification. My work in African American children's literature is grounded in respect, long term study, and real human connection. Thank you so much for being here, for listening.